The spirit of Comeback Player of the Year is to honor a player who has demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity by overcoming illness, physical injury, or other circumstance that led him to miss playing time the previous season. Nowhere in this press release from the Associated Press does it mention that the player had to be bad the previous season or bad for seasons prior to that or was on their couch prior to being called to lead the Cleveland Browns to the postseason. So this has now become an award where it's no longer like guy could stink like Geno Smith or guy could be on his couch like Joe Flacco and win this award. So unfortunately, some of the fun is going to get taken out of it. And I think we can start crossing a lot of guys that are still in the betting market, like cross them off the list and try and determine, is it just going to be like one of like the top 5 guys, or is there anyone a little further down the board that we might like? So I've written down a number of prices here, all the top guys, and then a couple others at longer prices that I thought were interesting. We can kind of go down the list, right? Aaron Rodgers, we came back from break with, plus 130 is the favorite. Joe Burrow, plus 240. Kirk Cousins at 5. Anthony Richardson of the Colts at 7. Nick Chubb at 14. We don't know when Chubb's going to be ready. Maybe not to start the season, but like maybe not. Maybe might be back by like October, potentially. Chubb at 14, Deshaun Watson at 20, Daniel Jones at 25. Justin Herbert, really funny, missed like the final 2 games of the season. Herbert at 30, Kyler Murray's at 30, he already came back. Sam Darnold at 30, can never win right under these new qualifications.
Yeah.
Tank Dell at 35, who did get shot this offseason. And also had broke his leg. Justin Fields at 35 can never win. Gardner Minshew at 40, hysterical. J.K. Dobbins at 60, a little interesting with all his injuries. Christian Gonzalez of the Patriots I thought was a little interesting. Rookie last year at 100 to 1. And then the 2 Dolphins pass rushers, Bradley Chubb at 66, Jalen Phillips at 100. I thought those were a little interesting at long prices. So Ken, thoughts on the new guidelines instituted by the AP, and then we can start talking about some prices.
Yeah, if you like making money, then this stinks. This is really bad. It's really bad. No other way to put it. As a bettor, you should be dying for markets to be open that have gray area and ambiguity in them, because that's what is going to allow you to make the most money, probably. NFL Comeback Player of the Year had that gray area and ambiguity. Wait, but he's coming back from being bad, and this guy's coming back from an injury, and this guy died on the field. How do we value these 3 things against each other, and who is going to win? You will get a lot of disagreement. Will the voters really do that? If people are asking that, then you're in the right market to make a lot of money, which we did, and we did the year before, and there are other markets that have operated the same way. NBA Most Improved Player, another awesome award market that has a ton of ambiguity. And there are people that bet are like, well, I wish they would define the terms a little bit better. Why? So you can be broke? So you can make no money? This stuff drives me nuts. You should want the gray area because you should be able to solve it better than everybody else. Better than people that don't put a lot of thought into it. You should be able to solve it. Most Improved Player in the NBA, a perfect example. Is it somebody who goes from good to great, bad to good, great to best player in the league? Gray area. Ding, 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 ding. Great opportunity to make money because nobody's going to agree. Nobody. And you can think through the problem and hopefully solve it better than everybody else can. These things are awesome. We just had one of the great award betting opportunities ever 2 nights ago in the Stanley Cup final with Conn Smythe. Do you know why we had that opportunity? Because there was a ton of gray area and ambiguity about whether a guy on the losing team could win it. If Messier and Subban, if they had their way and somebody on the winning team always won, do you know how unbettable that award market would be? It would just be whoever the team was that was going to win the whole way through the playoffs. It would only be connected to a team winning, but it isn't that way because there's ambiguity, because sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes it could go to somebody different. And that back and forth created an awesome betting opportunity. You should root for every award to be like this, where there isn't a clear definition of what can happen, or sometimes something weird can happen and that's okay, because that's where all the good stuff comes from. That's where all the huge money-making opportunity comes from. The opportunity to make boatloads of cash on Conn Smythe in 20 minutes existed 2 nights ago, and if the AP, whatever, woke police had their way, then we would change the rules of that too and define it more clearly, and then you wouldn't be able to make as much money, because we would all just be racing to bet the exact same thing, because it would be so obvious what the answer was. And my fear is that to a certain extent, that's what this award's going to turn into too. It's going to turn into Golden Boot in soccer. Yeah, who has the most goals? That's it. We don't get to talk about anything. Everything's stupid. Like, that guy has 5, that guy has 4. That people want this. You want this to be a part of the discussion? Be like, well, I could still be comeback player of the year. You're all going to be racing to bet the same guy because it's going to be really obvious, probably. So, yeah, just like the new rule, I hate this stuff. And I actually think what I hate more is that some people who bet like it. Probably because they had Damar Hamlin, to be fair. And if I had Damar Hamlin and this happened, I would be really hurt by it too, and I would want them to change the rules. But, like, I think even those people should be able to see this stuff. Ambiguity and gray area creates opportunity, and when you, like, very, very clearly define awards, there becomes less opportunity usually to make. What coach of the year in all sports has a ton of gray area, ton of ambiguity. Is it the guy who improved the team the most? Is there a narrative going on with the award? Is it a great team? We don't know. It's every year it's something different. That's what makes it really fun. That's what makes it profitable, hopefully. So, we can go through the candidates for this year. I think it's going to be really lame, honestly. And I don't look forward to betting it, and I may not bet it. We'll see as the season goes along. We'll see how very clearly defined the candidates are. We pour one out. We lost a good one. We lost a good opportunity to make money. Honestly, because a candidate won
it's
embarrassed the league. A candidate won that embarrassed the league because they wanted a certain guy to win, and the voters for the AP basically were like, they didn't say no because it was about second and third place votes. A lot of voters left Hamlin off their ballots entirely, and the NFL was really embarrassed by that. And so now we have to change the rules, and we're going to make less money as a result of it. If you like betting, this stinks.
It does stink. I will say I'm happy that I haven't seen a lot of that from people saying, "Oh, well, they should clearly define the right." Like, really?
Well, people that lost on Hamlin, it's the logical response,
so
right? Be like, well, they need to clear this up
it?
because, like, how could Flacco win? It's like, well, okay, you could just read and think and look for valuable betting opportunities and awards like this instead of, like, being so narrow-minded. Stop being so narrow-minded. Like, you encourage the crazy stuff to happen. You should want the crazy stuff. The crazy stuff is what pays the best. You should want the crazy stuff, not like, well, it's minus 350. Let me go find a minus 300. Yeah, sick job. Great job printing money on stuff like that. Like, very hard to do, especially in awards. It's impossible. Just like, we should all be on the same page here.
It feels like the only way to beat this market potentially and to make some money on this market would be if you liked someone at a long price almost like before the season starts, with the expectation being that maybe this person could be awesome. Because, like, Rodgers, Burrow, and the guys that Ken's mentioning, right, the 4 quarterbacks at the top.
Cousins.
I guess you could. I wouldn't throw Watson in there just because, like, he played a lot less season. I guess like he somewhat qualifies. Yeah. But yeah, like the top 4 would be Rodgers, Burrow, Cousins, and Richardson. And honestly, like, it's really the top 3, right? With Rodgers, Burrow, and Cousins.
I would cross Richardson too. Like, nobody's going to get hurt in their rookie year right? and then win.
Yeah, and you talked about that last year on the show, right? With a couple of rookies that had gotten hurt. Yeah. But so I guess, like,
I can cross a lot of guys here though. So I agree with you that I think one of those 3 is not, like, has to win, but they're very likely. One of them is very likely to win. Okay. Like, does that mean you want to bet? Like, are the favorites vulnerable is the way to phrase this. Like, yeah, there are long prices that can win. Why would I try to beat Rodgers, Cousins, and Burrow coming off injuries? Like, why would I try to beat that group? There's nothing vulnerable about that. Like, this is this is cookie cutter winners of this award. It's didn't Burrow win this already against Dak Prescott? Didn't he win that year? One of them won, and it was the 2 of them down to the wire. So, like, these are really easy. These are central casting candidates for this award. So, people who are like, oh, thank God we got this year. This stinks compared to there's no opportunity here. What is there? I'm sure you have long prices you think are interesting. My point here is just, like, I think because this was so crazy, maybe everyone is going to be like, oh, I can't wait for a comeback player. Like, my advice is, like, we'll find a new comeback player of the year. Some other award this year will be very interesting, and we'll bet into that instead.
Well, so let's try and find something that's interesting here outside of the top 3 guys.
Give me the long prices that you like.
Honestly, so I don't like the Giants this year.
Okay.
But Daniel Jones is someone that kind of, like, falls under this umbrella, right? Quarterback coming off, like, an injury.
What has to happen for him to win, do you think? Like, give me like a Giant season where you think he wins.
Playoffs, even if they're the 7 seed.
Do the stats have to be good?
I don't know if the stats have to be great. I think it has to be a couple things for Daniel Jones to win. I think they have to go at least 9-8, probably have to make the playoffs as a 7 seed, and the narrative has to become, because, look, a lot of Giants fans, like, I've been, like, leading the charge on this offseason, saying Giants have to move on from Daniel Jones. So he has to play well enough that the Giants will no longer be looking for his replacement. Like, they tried to trade up for Drake May in the draft. Like, they actively tried to replace him. Patriots turned them down. They end up getting a weapon for him, a receiver in Malik Neighbors. So I think not only do the Giants like have to be like above 500, be the 7 seed in the playoffs, but there has to be almost like no question going into voting at the end of the season, going into like the wild card round, that like Daniel Jones is going to be the Giants starting quarterback the next season. And like everyone's on board with it. That's what I think you need for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I think like
honestly, that's a pretty good comeback if that happens. I'm not saying it would win the award, but that's not bad.
I mean, I think there's like, I mean, I have to put some percentage chance it happens. I think it's pretty low just because. So I like that case. I mean, it's at least possible. So I do like it for that reason. Just like, all right, the Jets, the Falcons, and the Bengals. Like if any of them win 11 games, and Daniel Jones does that, does Daniel Jones win? And this is where I don't know what the answer is, and I can't say for sure the answer would be yes. But I guess it would be a discussion. Yeah.